Hello again, friends, and you are our friends, and welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru right here, wherever you are on this beautiful Tuesday, early evening, late afternoon. It's daylight savings, so everything is all discombobulated right now. I am your host, the great Brian Last, and of course, joining me, the star of this drive-thru, the man who will be answering your questions, which are sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com or occasionally on Twitter, using the hashtag CornyDriveThru, the ignorant slut himself, Mr. Jim Cornette.
Well, hello, everybody. Ho, 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 and happy spring. The weather is well, it's shitty right now, but it was nice. But Brian, where do we begin? I've been looking so forward to this show because I've done it again. I have done it again. I understand that there are people that make it a goal of theirs and consider it an accomplishment to trend on Twitter. Is this the case? Have I been under a misapprehension here?
I think to some people and to some businesses, that is a sign of success. You know, you hear on wrestling, and we are trending #1 in the world right now. It's never been proven that it actually correlates to any rise in business or anything, but it shows that people are talking about you.
But it's a thing that people aspire to.
I guess so, I would assume.
It's some people. And I just do it and sometimes don't even know it, as we've mentioned in the past, until I've already done it and it's over with. Remember the time I trended on Twitter for calling somebody Butterface? I didn't even know about that one, I don't think, till it was over with. But it was Saturday evening. You called me on the bat phone, and I was about to go outside because the Monroe brothers were here at the castle, Alf and Ralph, and they've been digging me a trench for a new French drain, and they've been cleaning all the leaves and the clog out of my little creek back there. And the bat phone rang, and I answered it. It was you. You said, "You're trending on Twitter." And I said, well, what'd I do? And you said, "Nothing unusual." And I said, well, I'm fixing to put my mud boots on and go back here to supervise the Monroe brothers digging this trench. Do you think it'll last till in the morning? Because then I've got to have dinner after that, and I'm probably not going to get to Twitter till in the morning. And you told me briefly what it was about. And I said, well, this will wait till in the morning because it's only, the cosplayers. That was about the conversation, I think, right at that point, right?
Well, there was the line, "All right, well, I got to get back to this trench."
Yeah.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
An important trench to supervise. So anyway, the next morning I get up, and my routine. We've talked about it here on the program. I get up early in the morning, and I look at the news, see what's going on, if everybody's still breathing, and look at my bank account is another thing I look at, and then email, even though I can't possibly try to read or answer most of it. I see if I've gotten an email from anybody I know, right? And I start and then I go to Twitter and I scroll through, and I like to either retweet things that are interesting or funny or historic or whatever I get a kick out of, and occasionally comment on something. And I'm a big fan of blocking people because, whether you're Republicans or fans of the cosplay wrestlers, or you just got a smart attitude on Twitter and you say something I don't like, then I block you, because I aspire to the record for having more people blocked I don't do any kind of, I don't know if you can even do that, mass blocking. I do it individually. But I want to have the record for having blocked more people than anybody else on Twitter, because it's fun. Because if you got something smart to say to me, and then people will say, well, he blocked me on Twitter after I made a smart ass comment about him. He's a coward. No, you're just a smart ass, and boom, and I block you, and then you don't exist. But anyway, it screwed up my morning is what it did, Brian, because there were so many tweets and so many retweets, so many comments, and people were up in arms at each other, not only at me, but each other, because the ones that were, normal and used proper English and have some logical sense to them were on my side and the fucking goofs weren't. And so they're fighting with each other. And I'm trying to go through all this. And anytime I want to retweet something or anytime I want to fire back at the guy we're going to talk about here in a minute, and I do that, there's so many tweets coming in. It goes back to the start. And then I'm trying to scroll down to see what I missed. But then it clogs up and it says, oops, try again later, because it was all jammed up. So I didn't see a lot of that stuff. And I missed a chance to block a lot of people. And also, I didn't have time to read all that shit anyway. But so it ruined my morning routine there. And then I had to go on about because Sunday was the big open up of Cornette's Collectibles. More on that later. But anyway, apparently we've buried the lead here because apparently the headline is that an AEW superstar has threatened me with either physical or sexual assault. The way it was worded, we're not actually sure. And it is all over my critique of their crummy amateurish outlaw wrestling. And they did this out in public, if you will. And of course, we're talking about the Bulgarian Bluto himself, Miro. Oh, and some people were sending the Popeye memes with Popeye eating spinach with one hand while fucking fending Bluto off with his feet and Bluto's swinging and missing and everything. It looks a lot like him. But anyway, we did one of our normal critiques of one of their attempts at a wrestling show, and I don't even know. It's been in the last week or two. I'm not sure exactly which show this was we were talking about. But he took exception, and so did his little friend Pip and their sidekick, Penelope Pitstop. And apparently they didn't get wacky races in Bulgaria, first of all, because Miro thought, and actually some other of these clueless twits also thought that Penelope Pitstop, instead of being a beloved Hanna-Barbera cartoon figure, was indeed some kind of slang for a fucking cum dumpster or something. I don't know, because my head is not in the gutter, in the sewer like these people. But so he didn't get the wacky races bit. But anyway, I was going to ask you to play the tape, but then I found the transcript on one of the many, many wrestling sites that are covering this. And thank you all very much for the publicity. So I'll just say it in my own voice, because this is apparently, it's the transcript, because I remember saying this. And we were talking about Miro, right? He's being allowed to be himself, and he's obviously a complete fucking goof, Cornette said about Miro. He has no idea how to get over, no idea what got him over for a little while before in the other company. He does this stupid shit and obviously is enjoying himself doing it. He was paired with a kid that looks like he's in middle school and his slutty girlfriend. To have a feud with a guy that sticks his hands in his pockets and another guy that looks like he cuts his hair with a pencil sharpener. Job guy. Underneath talent all the way, and he has embraced this. That's what I said about Miro and his little group. Well, apparently, Miro got on Twitter, and this is apparently what started this whole cavalcade. And by the way, also, I found it ironic. Isn't it ironic? Miro's the one that tweeted this and says, nobody gives a shit about these people. Miro's the one that's threatening me, but I'm the one that starts trending. Did you notice that?
Well, he did trend first, and then everything shifted to you.
Well, there you go. That's a safe bet every time. Anyway, Miro got on his tweeter machine and said, Jim Cornette, if you call Penelope slut again, I'll come. And also, it sounds like her proper Christian name is Penelope Slut, and I've been calling her on the phone.
Well, that was one of the issues with the tweets. Miro needs to put down the video games and open a book. He has horrible grammar.
Horrible grammar. No English is his second language.
But learn how to use a comma and an apostrophe.
Yes, and an A. See, if you call Penelope a slut again, see, that would have been more proper. But it's, if you call Penelope slut again, like I've been blowing her phone up, I'm dialing Penelope slut. Anyway, he said, Jim Cornette, if you call Penelope slut again, I'll come like God's wrath on you. He will cut. That sounds vaguely sexual. Has he been making some of them Lars Sullivan videos? What is his goddamn...
Come on.
Anyway, he wants to come like God's wrath on me. He said, you understand, I'll personally drive to your basement. Is he saying he's homeless, and if I will give him a room in my basement, he will come here at his own expense? No, of course not. He's threatening me with violence or sexual assault, depending on what coming like God's wrath means. And, you know, they're awful sensitive over there at the all-inclusive AEW compound about everybody feeling good and having a nice environment, and this guy wants to come all over me like God's wrath. But then Pip chimed in. Pip chimed in on Twitter. I got it. Oh, no, this was not on Twitter. Actually, I think he said something on Twitter, but nobody understood it, and it made no point. But he got on Twitch, and we don't have to worry about it. He, talking about me, is definitely going to die at some point soon. Then we can all dance. We can have a celebration. That'll probably be one of the first times on the internet that I'll post something like a celebratory post, you know? And I mean that. I'm not even joking. I'm deadly serious. I cannot wait for that man to die. Boy, little Pip has an anger issue, doesn't he? I haven't experienced and enjoyed legitimate venom like that since the 80s. That's fucking kind of giving me fucking goosebumps.
He did have one tweet that I saw where he said he would ride shotgun with Miro to your basement.
Yes, he would ride shotgun, because I don't think he's got a driver's license. He's not old enough yet. But he would ride shotgun to the basement. And, you know, hey, Pip, for one thing, you're talking to a guy that used to save his death threats for fucking souvenirs. But also, I enjoyed that as a longtime heel. But again, wow, do you think maybe Tony Khan should invest in a counselor to come and talk to his locker room? Because it sounds like they've got a lot of unresolved anger issue. You know, everybody gets on me for, he wishes death on people. You know, every time that I say, I think that guy ought to be boiled in oil and have his fat sold for soap, then I follow it up with, I'm serious. I really mean that. I would. I'll fill the water up in the cauldron. I want him to die. I'm going to try to boil him. So I think maybe, you know, for heaven's sake, Tony, you've got a medical staff there. Get a counselor for the anger issues and the unresolved pent-up frustrations that these people have. And then Penelope Pitstop. Why, she got on Twitter, and she's got a smart little mouth on her, that little chickadee does. And said rude and vulgar things about me and Stacy, who is not, by the way, a public figure. And it seemed that a lot of this was because they assumed that I was calling her a slut because that was her gimmick on the television, which apparently means, as Dennis Condrey used to say, I think I struck a nerve there somewhere. But then she responded by bringing horrible slut-shaming verbiage that she's learned from the low-class individuals that she hangs out with and applying it to my wife, who, did I mention, is not a public figure, which, of course, I merely laugh at because, by the way, did I mention, I'm a fucking heel and I haven't heard this much legitimate venom from people in years. However, apparently what they were doing was they were kicking back. Old Miro and Pip and Penelope Pitstop, they were hanging out. They were playing some video games, tipping back some White Claws down there in Pip's mom's basement. And they heard that I had mentioned their names in a review, and naturally they scrambled to their PlayStations to see what that I had said about them and were upset about this. And I just mentioned what I had said and some things that they said and the threats that they issued. And once again, to come on me with the wrath of God, Miro is threatening someone of a smaller and more elderly nature. Shame upon him. And all of the AEW chuds, the cosplay humanoid underground dwellers, are hopping on me for being sexist by calling old Penelope Pitstop a slut, when in actuality, I just mentioned that it was a little middle school. Wait a minute. Let me get my exact, was it middle school or high school? Let me get my exact verbiage up here. I want to make sure we don't misrepresent anything. A kid that looks like he's in middle school and his slutty girlfriend. So if indeed I'm calling her a slut, and it's to be believed, then is Pip Sabian still in middle school? How many years has he been left back? I thought that was the gimmick that they were going for. I thought that's the look they were looking for. Because if you look up any picture, any publicity picture of Pip and Penelope, you see him there, a diminutive, slappable-faced, high school-looking, uncircumcised prick, and his slutty girlfriend. That's the look. That's the gimmick. Now, if for some reason something in her personal and private life that they know that I don't has suddenly struck a nerve with them that they have just jumped all over this, well, I'm sorry, but I don't have time to keep track of your personal affairs. I know on television, for example, when they had the wedding, she didn't look like Laura Ingalls Wilder on the set of Little House on the Prairie in that wedding dress. And, honestly, if old Penelope was offended by that review, thank goodness. Number one, thank goodness she was never an actual heel in wrestling, because the girls that were heels in wrestling and considered it a good night when they came back without catching spit in the face or some guy taking a swing at them. They were called a lot worse than you've ever heard, darling, from the time they left the fucking locker room by thousands of people at the same time. But if Penelope was offended by that review of her wrestling, then thank goodness, Brian, that I never said any of the things that I could have, because I've never targeted her specifically for a long, drawn-out critique, because she's just parsley on these other two goofs' plate. But I never said the things I could have said, even though she actually had relations with Jelly Nutella. You remember that? So she should have an infectious disease specialist on speed dial. Didn't they do something with that on television? With her and Jelly and Pip, where she and Pip kicked old Jelly in the balls and then made out or fondled or something while Jelly laid there holding his little fucking Winky. Did I dream that in a fucking fever dream, or did they do that?
I don't remember exactly what they did. And again, I kind of feel, it is interesting just how sensitive these low card people are for a critique of their performances. And you've never had anything complimentary to say about any of them, to be honest. And apparently that means they wait for your death. And just very sensitive here. You're lucky you don't have any emotional issues, or you may not be able to take this sort of attack on you.
That's true. I could be browbeaten into something drastic if I had human emotions.
But I do think it's I don't think you should be calling her slutty or a slut. You can't say because she dated Jelly Nutella she's a slut. You can't say because,
I didn't say that.
You can't say because she married Kip Sabian she's a slut. Now, if you wanted
I did not say that.
If you wanted to argue that her cheating on Jelly Nutella, there's at least a discussion to have there, but you weren't even doing that. You were throwing it out there, an empty slut. It was an empty slut you threw out there.
Well, I take the empty slut back. I was talking about the picture, the video, the visual that they put with their package, their gimmick put together. But I realize, and what you just said, that still doesn't mean you could call her a slut. That just means that at certain times she may have exhibited slutty behavior. But there's no reason. And that's why I've never said about things like that, because I would never get so personal about a woman that I have never met just because she absolutely sucks at her job. I would never say horrible things like that about someone who had never said a derogatory thing about me. But since those derogatory things have come up, and she's got that smart mouth on Twitter, and she made some very rude remarks, Brian, would you like to know some of the things that I could have said about Penelope Pitstop, but never said, but I could have said?
I don't know if I do. No, I don't know.
Well, I did say one of these things in response to her on Twitter. Only after provoked, I said I have never said, but I've heard it said, that if Penelope Pitstop had as many dicks sticking out of her she's had stuck in her, she'd look like a porcupine. But I never said that. I just heard it said, and then I tweeted it.
Awful. Just awful.
Come dumpster. Come dumpster.
Will you stop it? What?
I never said that Penelope Pitstop has had more dicks in her than a urinal at Madison Square Garden. I never said that. Not once. I never made the comment that if her and Pip Sabian ever had a baby, they would name it Target because everybody's had a shot at it. I have never once made that statement.
Oh, God.
I have never once, Brian, have I ever once asked you the question, Brian, what's the difference between Penelope Pitstop and a rooster?
You have.
And I've never given you the answer. A rooster says cock-a-doodle-doo, and Penelope Pitstop says any cock'll-do.
Oh, come on. You can't play your own applause. That's ridiculous.
I have never made the comment. I have never revealed publicly what Penelope Pitstop says after having sex, which is, are you guys all from the same team? I've never said that. I have never related the aftermath of what happened when Penelope Pitstop had sex with a vibrator. She chipped her teeth. I've never said that. If they bleep this on YouTube, everybody, here's the podcast, share the punchline. But also Stephen P. New wants me to remind everyone this is all for entertainment purposes. Parody is the defense. I mean the description. Parody. Parody. Now back to the program.
Wait, you know,
go ahead.
I was going to say, though, the funny thing about this is, and I'm going to expose a little bit of our business here. This is all this venom that was shot towards you based on what they're saying is venom towards Penelope.
That was cummed all over me like God's wrath.
It's all because of this critique. And of course, you have never been complimentary about any of these three low-carb people, really ever. But, you know, the funny thing is, when we complete a show, when we're done recording a show and we're getting everything in post-production ready to go, this is when it's out of your hands. You've moved on to the trench and whatever else is going on at the castle. I send Travis Heckel, our artist, a list. There are two lists, actually. Priorities and others. And the way it works is the priorities list is the topics that I think the listeners want to see on YouTube right away. They don't want to wait. It's timely. They want to hear it. They want to see it. Let's get to these as fast as we can. The others list is we've gone through all of the priorities, and there's usually a good deal in order. We've gone through all the priorities, and we still have some time before the next episode, so let's get some more clips up. And with the exception of, I think, Miro's debut and the critique of Miro's ridiculous outfit and the wedding, which didn't even get as much interest as we thought it would, they are always at the bottom of the others list. There aren't a lot of people clamoring for critiques of Kip and Penelope and Rusev. Literally no one gives a shit.
No. Miro.
Miro. I forgot his birth name, his Christian name. No one cares. So when I saw this pop up on Twitter, and you forgot my favorite tweet of them all, which was, "Answer me, Mark."
Oh, yeah.
When I saw this pop up on Twitter, I'm like, you know, these are people looking to get some attention right now because they don't get any, because no one gives a shit about any of their programs or anything they're doing. They don't even realize you're not on Twitter all day. You're not just sitting there waiting for the Bulgarian Bluto, as you put it, to send you something.
Well,
Mark?
here's the thing. You give them too much credit. I believe that they thought that I was sitting there on Twitter hiding from them because they had talked to me and I was suitably chastened. I was out looking at an interesting mud trench rather than being bored by listening to Miro. But you're right. Somebody actually sent me a clip of one of the websites when I finally did tweet the next morning, when I always do. Cornette breaks his silence. That's the problem. Yes, they were definitely thinking that I was cowering somehow, but you give them too much credit. They weren't looking for attention. They really lost their shit. They really got mad. And how dare he say that about us? And of course, Miro tries to take up for Penelope because he's really mad because the whole thing was about Miro and a side note on Penelope, and that was supposedly what he's mad about. He's pissed off because I'm telling everybody he's a fucking idiot because he demonstrates he's a fucking idiot Wednesday nights on national television. But you talk about the interest. That's the thing. I want to blister this fucking Pip Sabian, but I don't really know how. And it probably wouldn't be funny. Because for any of the jokes to work, you have to know what he looks like or how he wrestles or any fucking thing about him. And this guy blends into the fucking background like a polar bear in a blizzard. So what do I do with this guy? Somebody's convinced him he's a pro wrestler. I got nothing to work with. He's worse than Brandon Cutlet, that bland piece of white meat that sits on a plate. I mean, for Pip, he's got a cute little British accent, right? He could do Disney voiceovers for the Boomerang channel or something. If I was a producer and I was casting a show or a movie and I needed to fill the part of a delinquent in a Dickens-era children's workhouse asking for some more gruel, I would probably hire Pip Sabian. But otherwise, I don't even know what to do with this guy. And if I did great material, nobody'd fucking care. But he and Penelope make a cute couple. If they ever need to cast Mark Mero and Sable as teenagers, if the fucking network does like one of those, the Little Rascals type thing with the guys as kids, maybe there you go. And I'm sure their careers will probably turn out the same way as Mero's and Sable's once she fucking makes a move upwards again. But
this is now the second modern wrestler who called you a mark.
Yeah, what did this say? He proved my point. I said he's a goddamn idiot that doesn't know what business he's in, and he doesn't even know how to use the terminology. He doesn't even know what the words mean. And this is not a second language thing. This is he does not understand. I looked up his background, Brian, because I wanted to know who this fucking guy was. Because like I said, I never even saw Rusev. We weren't watching that shit at that point. You liked Rusev for a while there.
I thought he was pretty good. He was misused. From what I've been told, a part of the reason why he was misused was some of the higher-ups in WWE may have thought he was a fucking idiot.
Well, I was going to bring that up. Go ahead.
But yeah, no, I think he's a guy who has some talent. He has been completely wasted in AEW, so I don't know he's getting older. I don't know if we're ever going to see any of the potential ever actually get reached, but he is a guy who could have at one point been a real player, and instead they treated him like a jerk-off because that's what they eventually thought of him as.
Well, and that's why I wanted to know more about this guy, because he talks like he's such a big star in the wrestling business, and he's a tough guy, and he knows everything, and he's so accomplished, and he feels like he can tell other people how to modify their behavior. So I thought I'd try to see what all of his accomplishments were. And of course, we've followed the whole AEW run from the fucking pink Minnie Mouse t-shirt to the unplugged video games to the whole fucking lunacy and the mascot and the cake and everything. He's been a joke. Everybody's laughed. He came to AEW to be his true self, and he's been a fucking preliminary joke. But in the WWE, he got over for a while, as I referred to in that tweet. He got over for a while, or in that statement I made in the review. He just didn't know how that they got him over because they pushed him like a monster. And apparently, as you mentioned, by the time his run was over with, he was getting kicked in the balls. This is a common theme with these people. All modern wrestling these days, like people to get kicked in the balls and their wife go kiss another guy. In this case, his real wife, who I guess is Lana, over there, she used to be Russian. Now she's not, but she's really married to this guy. And she was playing tonsil hockey with Bobby Lashley while he was laying there holding his fucking nuts in the ring in front of thousands of people. So apparently they thought he was a blithering fucking idiot once they got to know him. And then I looked back further and found out he had been in NXT or Florida, whatever their training program was at that point, for like 3 or 4 years before he got to the main roster, and they couldn't smarten him up to all this time. He's only been in the WWE system. They couldn't smarten him up to the business, ended up making a fucking goof out of him. So he goes over here and takes this guy's money and gets to do his own shit where he makes a bigger goof out of himself. So there was failure in the background. But I'm like, where did this guy suddenly come from? This big Bulgarian beast just suddenly comes like God's wrath and into the wrestling business in the WWE system. I couldn't find anything about his early years, Brian. I had to go to the dark web where I found his true identity and his true real life background. You know, there's all kinds of things you can find out there on that dark web. If Hotchkiss Featherbottom, he hooked it up for me because the second audio guy on his cable access cooking show, The Velvet Colander, is a big dark web expert. And apparently, you know, he's Bulgarian. You know, back in those days in the 80s, when he was born, because you said he's older, that was communist area, you know, the Russian bloc. And all that place, so it was very secretive. There's a lot of secrecy going on about this guy. But apparently, when Miro was born, his first participation in failure was in conjunction with his father, who failed to pull out of his parking spot in the backseat of a Bulgarian Yugo 9 months before Miro was born. And then when he was born, as a matter of fact, at one of the finest hospitals in Bulgaria, the doctor slapped his mother. But the real secret, ladies and gentlemen, well, no, you remember, Brian, you may be old enough to remember when I was a kid back in the 70s and 80s, I watched the Olympics on television. Because, you know, the United States, especially in 72, there was Chris Taylor and Ken Patera. And, you know, and we were always checking to see if the Olympic athletes for the U.S. were going to win the gold medals and beat Russia and maybe become wrestlers. And the Russian athletes, the weightlifters and the wrestlers, they were fucking freaks at Vasily Alexiev and Alexander Medved and at Alexander Karelin. They even nicknamed him the Experiment. He was the undefeated amateur wrestler. Vince wanted him at one point bad because he heard the story and the nickname. He loved the idea. But what it was, all the stories came out. The Russians and the communists were doing experiments with their athletes with all kinds of steroids and growth hormones and chemicals, right? And drugs. And they were pumping these athletes. Well, that's the Rocky IV, you know, the fucking Russian, right? If he dies, he dies. That was a whole thing. It was a real deal that was going on. And that's why they started all this major drug testing in Olympics and professional sports. Do you realize that Miro is not indeed Miro's real full name? Miro's real full name, Miro was born Miriam Boringasovich. She was a member of the 2004 Russian women's Olympic weightlifting team, and she actually won the gold medal, but she was disqualified when she took her after-game piss test standing up. And right there, she was banned from Russia and came to the United States to become a wrestler. Now, I'm not saying Miro is transgender. There's been no surgery or transition or anything. Miro, as Miro exists now, is still female. It's just those Bulgarian bat hormones got out of hand.
That's ridiculous.
So, and as evidenced from her AEW run so far, she's learned to sit down when she pisses now, so hopefully she won't have any more of those horrible drug test failures. But anyway,
I'm going to make a comment here, if you don't mind.
Please do.
Like I said before, I don't agree with just throwing the word slut out there. And I think sometimes things like that happen just kind of flippantly. You'll flippantly say something without, like I said before, it's empty. It's not really like an attack on the person. It's more just an attack on the character or the way you perceive the character. And I think most people...
The presentation.
Most people who are logical know that I could say, had no idea who Penelope Ford was up until AEW, and you haven't paid much attention since then.
No. So, that actually would be a mistruth. I've been reminded that she's one of the people that took the dick flip for Dick Boy and used to do the stunt where they take the lollipop out of his crotch and stick it in her mouth, or she sticks it up his ass, or whatever that whole byplay with the lollipop was. She's one of those that used to do that. So I've probably talked about her before when talking about the other,
I don't know,
lower class individuals that did those type of things.
To be honest, they all took the dick flip. They all did the dick spots with that guy. So
yeah, but she was also sticking the lollipop in places on him and things and such.
I don't know.
Went a little
I don't remember her ever coming up, but the point is, you tend to sometimes say something flippantly, and it's kind of an empty comment that you just throw out there because you're using a lot of words.
I'm using a lot of words.
But I actually want to commend Rusev and Kip and Penelope for being willing to stand up openly and publicly for the plight of women today, and to say that terms like slut or slutty shouldn't be used for anybody. I guess the word is just outlawed now.
Yeah, especially when Penelope uses them herself about other people.
I want to commend them. I want to say I hope that this is just the beginning of things, because if they are truly committed to this cause, to fighting for the injustices delivered to women in the wrestling business and women throughout society, I want to stand with them. I've had nothing but beautiful, strong, elegant, intelligent women in my life, and I want to stand with them if this is really their cause, and I want to see where they're going to go from here. Are they going to call out Chris Jericho for donating tens of thousands of dollars to a man who has been credibly accused by a couple of dozen women of everything from molestation to rape? I'd like to see if they do that. I'd like to see. Does Rusev have the balls? Have the steroids and growth hormone destroyed his balls? Or does he have the balls to call out Chris Jericho for supporting Donald Trump, who has, like I said, 24 women out there, credible accusers? What about Don Callis? Don Callis, working with AEW, working with the heavyweight champion of AEW. Are they going to say anything about Don Callis? About how disgusting it is that Tony Khan would bring this guy into this company that has such a full woman's roster, considering all the problems that they just had in Impact. The sexual harassment problems. Don Callis's scarlet fever. Are they going to stand up and call out Don Callis and Tony Khan for using him? Maybe go even further and call out the Asper family for the bogus independent investigation into Don Callis. Go ahead. I dare you. Perhaps they'll call out the people in that locker room right now, who still talk to Joey Ryan. The people who right now, despite all the accusations, some of them hit very close to home. The people who still talk to Joey Ryan. People who still try to get him back into the wrestling business. Perhaps we're willing to work on a show with him, knowing he was on the show. Are they going to call out all those people? All those Southern California hotshots who still talk to Joey Ryan? I'd like to see them do that. Or maybe some of the people there who have somewhat, I don't know, you could say anything from abhorrent to just ignorant views on the place of women or transgender people in society. Perhaps people who think that women are inferior to men because, what's the saying? Eve was born from Adam's rib, or whatever it is. Perhaps some fundamentalist nutbags like that in that locker room. Perhaps they're from Rancho Cucamonga. Will they call them out? I'll give you another one. Just came to me. Wasn't Kip Sabian's roommate Jimmy Havoc For those of you who don't remember Jimmy Havoc, this guy, one of the worst wrestlers we've seen in many years, and that's saying something. This is the only guy they've cut. They have a roster that grows by the week. They keep adding people. No one has been let go. People are paid too much. The one guy they let go after he got out of rehab was the guy who was accused of forcing himself on a woman, Jimmy Havoc, the buddy and roommate of Pip Sabian and Penelope. I'd like to hear them publicly say stuff about him instead of going after a very popular wrestling commentator and podcast host. I will go there and I will take Rusev by my left hand and Penelope by my right hand. Kip could be in the back. And I will march in there and we could stand up together for women and women's rights in wrestling. Or perhaps they're just doing this all for attention because they're bored, because they're barely being used and no one gives a shit about them. But if they're committed to women's issues, I would be committed to working with them on that.
I wish I had a recording of the Battle Hymn of the Republic so I could have started playing it behind that statement. And I'd like to go on record here now saying I'd like to thank Miro as well. Because in the Bulgarian Bluto's only known example of good timing, he caused me to Twitter. He caused me to trend on Twitter.
You will Twitter in your basement.
I will Twitter in my basement.
Can you imagine if he got to your basement? If he somehow breached the castle gates, got through the Monroe Brothers trench. Hey, where is he? He's not in the basement. Oh no, this is the crawl space. I'm in the crawl space. Let me out. Hey, please, let me out the crawl space. I drove all the way here. Pip Sabian shotgun.
And I got news for you, Miro. There ain't no door handle on the inside of my crawl space door. But anyway, I would like to thank Miriam Boringasovich, to use her full Christian name. I would like to thank her as well for causing me to trend on Twitter at the exact same time as I reopened my Cornette's collectible store at jimcornette.com for the first time in 2.5 months. Especially because I thought it was going to be flat because the action figures aren't here yet, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But instead, it was one of my more successful opening days because everybody was talking. So thank you, Miro. I made more money that day than you did by just going out and looking at a mud ditch. But we'll close this up, but I just want to explain one thing to Miro and also little smart mouth Penelope and also little Pip. Can I have some more gruel, please, sir?
Consider yourself at home.
Consider yourself part of the family.
Oh, that's the funniest part. Like, Rusev's a big, jacked up guy, on or off the gas. A big guy. Penelope, she's a, I guess, former valet, now just a wrestler. But then is Kip, who's he intimidating?
Well, he's going to ride shotgun. But anyway, I just want to say, just to close this up, a thing that, guys, we can do this every fucking week. You want to fuck with me? We can do this every fucking week. Because here's the thing. I make money doing this, but I don't do this to make money. I do this because I have fun. As I've said many times, me and a lot of people out there that are listening to me resent the bullshit that you've turned our favorite sport and hobby into. We resent this whole fucking nattering bunch of fucking children in the wrestling business these days and how silly and stupid it is. And we don't like it. And the only way that we get any enjoyment out of it now is by taking the piss out of it, Pip. By fucking with it and making fun of it because it's a joke. You've turned our shit that we liked into a joke, so we're making fun out of you. And I am speaking for all these people that feel the same way I do. And apparently, since there were so many millions and millions more people watching wrestling 20 years ago and 10 and 20 years before the Attitude Era, if you count up all of the regional territories, millions more people than that watching wrestling, and now it's a bunch of fucking jackoffs playing video games and trying to be their own video game character, and the fans you've got are a goddamn bunch of grown adult men, supposedly, that put their favorite picture of their favorite Joshi Japanese princess champion on their Twitter profile. So fuck all of you. I don't care if I didn't make a cent doing this. I would do it because I enjoy it. And like I said, you want to fuck with me? You should have sat down, Miriam. You should have sat down with somebody in that locker room that's known me for a while, and they would have told you, you really shouldn't do that. That's not going to be a good idea, because he don't give a fuck what you say about him, and he will cut you to the bone verbally. You should have used the Sean Waltman rule. And we can stop here because, like Brian had just revealed a little while ago, when we do talk about you fucking putzes on the show, nobody gives a shit. So I got bigger fish to fry, and I can leave you alone. Although I've had so much fun now, I'm not sure I want to. And if anybody's pie hole continues to dribble, I may just make it a goddamn personal fucking mission of mine to make the three of you the biggest laughing stocks in the history of this fucking business until the day that all of us are dead, just for my fucking shits and giggles. So take your tongue lashing and move on, Bluto. Because you're playing with the big boys now and you're not equipped. You're not smart enough. I think I could outtalk you in Russian. You're not smart enough. You're not swift enough. And if you want to come to my basement or my penthouse or anywhere in between, see how far you get. People that you know have my phone number. Call me up. I never answer the phone, but if you do leave a voicemail, I will call you back and tell you exactly how to get here. And I'll also give you the fucking address of the goddamn police station and or the hospital that you will be transported to afterwards, just so if the next of kin and or the fucking anybody wants to bail you out or pull the plug on you. So anyway, as Arn Anderson used to say when he had just fucking verbally eviscerated somebody on Crockett's plane, Miro, you're volley.
Maybe he wants to come to your basement because he thinks that's where you keep the video games.
Yeah, well, it actually
Do you have a Donkey Kong? Do you have a Pac-Man in your basement?
No, I've just had Dennis Corluzzo's 1978 Kiss Bally pinball machine completely restored, and it's down in the bar. Of course, I wouldn't let him touch it. But anyway,
Look at that shiny ball. How does this work, this amazing pinball?
He wouldn't be able to figure out how it worked because it would be plugged into the wall. He don't know how to work them when they're plugged in. He just stands there like a dipshit and fucking acts like he's playing them so he can get his head run through them.
So what are your ideas to come into AEW? You know, you've been misused in WWE. We think we could do better. I'd like to come in playing video games. And I wear a Mickey Mouse shirt because I love Mickey Mouse.
And he wants to be the best man of a preliminary fucking heel's wedding as a way to introduce himself.
Oh, brother.
All right,
someone did ask me the other day. I had a bunch of calls, and they said, what do you think Jim thinks it is? And I said, he probably thinks the same thing I think. It's hysterical, but he's probably a little disappointed. It's one of the low-card people that are fucking trying to get attention.
Yeah, because my fucking store reopening could have been twice as good if it had been somebody people actually give a shit saying those things. Well, you get what you get. And speaking of which, the store did reopen at JimCornette.com. Cornette's collectibles are on sale now. Boy, howdy, are they. But as we revealed, we had teased it last week on this program, and we revealed on the experience, the boat from China with the action figures is still lost somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. And we have not been given the all clear from the dock that it has landed in Florida. So the action figures were not on sale and will not be on sale until they have arrived in the continental United States. I'm not going to take people's money without having a product to send them. And actually, thank fucking heavens that the figures weren't on sale, because with what we did, I would already be blown out, capsized, and have to close down again. So anyway, if you ordered Sunday, March 14th and early Monday, March 15th, I hope to get all that stuff out by this weekend, but expect when you order a 7-day turnaround, at least for the next week or so. If things slow down, it'll be better. And if the figures come in, we'll take it from there. But the good news is, if you want something besides an action figure, order it now. because when the figure orders start coming in, if we do get capsized and have to close down, you won't be able to get anything. So please help me out. If you want anything besides an action figure, get it right now. And did we mention the next round of cameos, Brian?
We did on the experience, but we should definitely do it here.
Well, since the figures are not in, even though I thought I'd have a little bit more free time now than it turns out, I've already advertised, we've already set it up. The next round of cameos will be this coming Sunday, March 21st at noon Eastern time. And we're going to do a limit of 50 again. So please, that you won't blow their site up. They got plenty of server, but there was an issue last time, as we mentioned, because everybody was trying to glom on and order them all at once. The inventory feature blew up. Hotchkiss is going to be manually turning this on and off this time so he can count. So last time we slipped through with 64 of them. We're only going to do 50 this time. Cameo.com, Cameo, cameo.com/Jim Cornette, or just go to cameo.com and type me in. There is a deal that you can click on. It says email me when he's available, but by the time you would get that email, they're going to be gone again. So just Sunday, March 21st, noon Eastern time. Be at the ready, and I'll take it from there now that we know how to do this stuff.
All right.
All righty then. And we're almost at 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. Happy hallelujah. Rainbows, waterfalls, and puppy dogs. How far are we away now? What, 5,000, 4,000?
4,000 and change as of this morning.
Well, hurry up, everybody. I want another cake.
Whoa, come on now.
What do you mean, come on now?
You're going to get a cake every 10 minutes? What do you need another cake for?
I got a cake at 100,000, even though you didn't send me the cake. One of the listeners had to send me the cake, but I want another cake for 200,000 now.
So what are we going to do? You get a cake for 200,000, then what's the next tier that you get a cake for? Is it every 100,000? It should be 100,000, then $1 million.
Hold on. No, just stop now. For one thing, I'm not going to wait between 100,000 and $1 million to have cake. For the second thing, 100,000 and then 200,000 if I get a cake. You would think 300,000 I get another cake, but 250,000 is $250,000, and that's a round number. So the next cake time should be 250,000, and then I guess 500,000, and then we might have to jump to $1 million. That's still a long time to wait without cake.
If I'm going to indulge you with this crazy idea, I think it should be 100,000. Then 250,000, then 500, then $1 million.
So you're just trying to screw me out of my 200,000 cake?
I guess so. I guess I really am. Not like I was going to buy it for you anyway.
Fucking cake thief.
I didn't steal the cake. I just didn't purchase it.
You, as sure as you have snatched that cake out of my fucking big mouth, as sure as you've reached your hand into my mouth and pulled it out of my throat as I was fixing to swallow it down my neck, you've taken that cake away from me for 200, because that does make sense. 1, 250, 5, and then, so you've taken that cake away from me as sure as if you stole it like a thief in the night.
Well, I guess
that's a deep subject, as Mama Cornette used to say.
Onwards and upwards.
I am giddy today. You were giddy last week to talk about that train wreck Outlaw Mud show. I am just giddy because I've trended on Twitter while I was looking at my mud ditch. I've blistered a bunch of fucking clueless putzes, and we had a wonderful, wonderful day at JimCornette.com. I would love for as a matter of fact, Tony, if you're out there listening, Tony Khan, can you get your entire roster that you pay a ton of money for on a weekly basis to threaten me with violence and sexual assault out in public again every week? I'll retire in a year. Get them all on it. They're falling down on their jobs.
Well, you brought up, Jim, that I was giddy this past week after the Maki Ito segment on AEW Dynamite, one of the great segments in the history of crappy wrestling. Let's stay on the topic of people who lip sync over backing tracks. Have you been following Chris Jericho's Twitter activity?
Well, no. What's he done now?
Did you watch the Grammy Awards?
I did not. I usually watch the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame but it wasn't as much fun this year. If they've even telecasted, because I saw they didn't have people there, but I didn't see the Grammys.
Even when I was working at the record labels, I couldn't watch the Grammys. It's an awful show. I don't know why anyone watches it, to be honest. But apparently Chris Jericho did. Here's a Twitter from 9:47 last night as we are recording. Hey, at Recording Academy. No tribute to Eddie Van Halen tonight. You and your bullshit awards can go fuck your ass. And don't ever try to give my band a nomination. I'd rather win a Razzie Award. Hashtag fuck off Grammys. Hashtag Grammys.
Well, I don't think he needs to worry about that nomination thing. I'm pretty sure he's safe there. He's safe as if he was in his mama's arms on that one. But is that even the right way to word it? You can go fuck your ass? And also, since he is a celebrity and a mainstream star, should he be does that set a good example for now the lead babyface in AEW to be telling the Recording Academy to go fuck their ass? Now, and see, also, if he'd said it right, he should have said, go fuck yourself in the ass. Because if any of those people own a donkey, then he was promoting bestiality. Tony Khan has got to monitor this Twitter activity. We've got death threats. We've got sexual assault threats. We've got bestiality being told to be performed to the Recording Academy.
I don't see it that way.
Go fuck your ass. It's not. No, it would be go fuck yourself in the ass. If he wanted them to fuck themselves in the ass, he's wanting them to go fuck their donkeys. That's bestiality. That is illegal everywhere, I think, except Mississippi.
For the record, I'm right now looking at a video.
And where bestiality is illegal?
I'm right now looking at a video from the Grammys of a guitar on the stage while a video plays behind it showing Eddie Van Halen playing one of his guitar licks. I'm guessing Chris Jericho may have been fixing a drink.
So they had the tribute. They had the tribute for Eddie Van Halen that Chris Jericho cussed them out for and wished ill on their donkeys about, and they had it, is what you're saying.
I mean, it's not a 5-minute celebration of his life, but there's absolutely a little tribute video here.
Son of a gun. He must have, a little bit of the bubbly must have got up his nose at the wrong time, and he missed it.
You know, there are a lot of artists of color who have been speaking out against the Grammys. The Weeknd, who's an incredibly talented performer and singer and dancer, I guess. He recently said he doesn't want the record label to ever submit any of his songs to the Grammys ever again. But those are because of issues dealing with racism. Chris Jericho says, don't ever give my band a nomination because they didn't honor Eddie Van Halen. So I guess, you know who feels good right now? Chris Rock and John Mulaney and Steve Martin, because knowing they don't have to deal with Fozzy in the best comedy record category, they're all safe. They have a chance to win now.
Well, wait a minute. Is there a category for parody, not comedy, but parody? Because it could be taken that like Spinal Tap was the inspiration for Fozzy and for the whole Dairy Queen incident, the comedy bus. Could they win the best parody? And then they could actually, Jericho could be a two-sport star in parody because he's the best rock and roll parody and the best wrestling parody.
And by the way, I won't watch the Grammys. Apparently Chris Jericho's sitting there watching the Grammys.
And doesn't see the Grammy. It's like the old fucking Steve Allen joke. If they ask me, do they get your program in Cleveland? Well, they watch it, but I'm not sure they get it.
Well, there it is, the latest in... Thank you very much. The latest in Chris Jericho news. Jim, our next question sent... sent on Twitter using the hashtag CornyDriveThru from Mark in Dryden. What are Jim's thoughts on Molly Holly being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame? What was she like during her time in OVW, and was she easy to work with?
Yes, Molly's a great girl all around, and she always was easy to work with. I thought I haven't heard anybody that had any issues with Molly Holly. she's real. She worked very hard, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this without insulting any of the other girls. She didn't fit in naturally with the girls that they were selling and pushing at the time. I don't mean personally that she wasn't friends with them. I mean, she was a different type, a different style. They were going for the bikini contests and the whole Tori Wilson type outfit thing. And there was Molly, and she wasn't like that in real life. She didn't want to go out in bikinis, and she didn't try to be a sexy girl. She was a wrestler, and she's very nice. I think as a matter of fact, after she got out of wrestling, didn't she like go do missionary work and help people in impoverished countries and shit? I mean, she's just a real nice girl, and was very good at wrestling, and was a very good athletic wrestler. And, I don't have any problem with her being in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I've said there's no rhyme or reason to the WWE Hall of Fame really to begin with, otherwise than what we've mentioned, a headliner or two to sell tickets, and then they have to do their quotas of, tag team and or how do they say it? Posthumous induction and woman and someone of color. But she worked hard, gave it her all, never caused any problems, and was popular during a period of time where a lot more people were watching the show than they are now. So I don't see why not.
When you see wrestlers today like Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, I guess timing, there are always those people who stand out in their era and their generation as being a little bit better than everyone else in the ring. She would have fit in there, like today with Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, because Molly Holly she can go in the ring.
And there's always been like the Natalias, there's always one or two girls that really, Beth Phoenix, I say one or two, there's been some percentage of the ladies in wrestling that really enjoyed the athletic part of it and really wanted to be good workers and didn't want to go out and, get on their knees and bark like a dog when, one of the Vinces and their sexual frustrations were in charge of the show. And, when those go, Luna, Vachon, for heaven's sake, Jazz, Victoria meshed the two because, holy mackerel, she looked hotter than a $2 pistol in a bikini. But what a great athlete she was, and really put a lot of work into her work. So, and then there's always, and a lot of times they don't make it to the WWE. They don't go that far, but you'll see them in a lot of other companies I could name. Girls that want to get in wrestling because they want to be on TV and they're into it for some other reason than the wholesome athletic pursuit of a career, right? They want to be TV stars. They want to be around for whatever. And they meet somebody in the wrestling business that can get them hooked up and get them into it. And so that's their entree. And then as soon as they can, they start trading up what they perceive as a trade up. And then sooner or later, they're the star because they have the look, and the mooches that they climbed over the top of their fucking dicks and noses to get to where they are still going, where the fuck did that girl I used to know used to go to? I haven't seen her in a while. And then they try to become television stars from there because that's what they want to do.
Our next question, let's stay on the topic of women in wrestling, Jim. This was sent on Twitter using the hashtag CornyDriveThru from Johnny Sameface. Not that one. Not the famous one. On Friday, Mae Young would have turned 98.
Oh my God.
That got me thinking about her Attitude Era run in the late 90s. I'm pretty sure Jim was off television by then, but did he ever meet Mae? And does he have any stories about her?
Oh, I've met Mae Young numerous times, and Moolah even more often, but we were very cordial. I mean, it was a complete accident that they got that resurgence during the Attitude Era, but it was due to really, I mean, Vince Jr. and Vince Sr. were always close to Moolah. She booked the girls. She did the business with them, and they had known her for quite some time, but Mae, as a lot of people know, predated Moolah in the business. And then they worked to, Mae was part of the original big run of women's wrestling during the Mildred Burke days. And Moolah came along and picked up after Mildred Burke was gone, and that initial, run where girls were in the main events and really drew money at that point, that had subsided, the whole Billy Wolf, Mildred Burke thing. So Mae had been out of the business for quite a while Moolah was still in it, and Mae had lived in California, but somehow or another they ended up, Mae moved to South Carolina to live at Moolah's compound. A lot of the girls lived there, and also the midget wrestler, her name was Katie, but she wrestled as Diamond Lil. She lived there with them. They were close friends for years, and what a great person she was. She was just always happy and, nice to be around. But anyway, so when Moolah and Mae Mae lived there with Moolah, and Moolah would come up just to, Vince invited her to a lot of things like Hall of Fame ceremonies. And so then Mae got a resurgence, got a renaissance, is what I was trying to beat around the bush and go for, because once they got around Mae Young, what a fucking, you say all the time in wrestling, these unforgettable personalities. Mae Young was one of those personalities. And once that, Vince was around her, and then Moolah was always feisty. And then, of course, old shit stain, he had tons of ideas, but they started using Moolah and Mae because they realized there's something to be said for putting these people on television. Where are you going to find women like this, especially like Mae? I met her the first time in, the early 90s. Up in the Northeast, Moolah used to have a thing called the Ladies International Wrestling Association. They would do a convention.
Yeah, remember they were raising money for the wrestlers' retirement home?
Yeah, how'd that work?
Where's that?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What happened to that money?
It's, it was at what was it, 101 Moolah Drive, Columbia, South Carolina.
That's right.
And that was her real address, folks. I'm not shitting. But anyway, maybe it was 96 anyway. But she had one of those deals, one of those conventions in the Northeast, and I had just moved up there, so it had to be 96. And I went up as a special guest, and Killer Kowalski was there because it was in his backyard. And it was just, I had some pictures taken with Moolah and Mae, and Killer Kowalski and a few of the other legends were there. But Mae wrestled, and they had a spot show ring or a boxing ring or some kind of, it was just a training ring, if that, and it was harder than Chinese arithmetic. And I'm standing in the back watching the matches, and Mae took a slam off the top from whatever girl she was working with onto that ring, and Mae bounced 2 feet, landed flat and bounced. The ring didn't give it all. She bounced 2 feet. And what would she would be 98 now. So what would she have been in 1996? 25 years ago, she was 73.
And she looked 10 years older.
Yeah, well, and facially, yes, yeah. She looked 10 years older because the life she led, my God. But anyway, the point is, it was classic. I've said many times, Moolah was a sharp-ass businesswoman, but around me, around all the promoters, around all the boys, maybe not all of her girls, she was the, Southern Belle, the, retiring Southern flower. What had you? When I would get a phone call from her at the office, if she was calling for something official or just to book me on a personal basis, how are you, Jim? I can't even do her accent, but how are you, Jim? Good to talk to you, honey. That type of thing. And Mae was this. And
then she stopped to yell at Velvet McIntyre to keep cleaning the furniture.
Yeah. And Mae was like, she was like if Stella Mae French had been a real gimmick, she was like this old fucking truck driving woman, right? And so many people have told a story. One of the guys said the first time he got into business in the 50s or whatever, he walked into the fucking locker room and there was Mae Young playing poker with the boys sitting on the bench smoking a cigar, looked up and said, "Hey, fuckface." She was but she was then a kindly old woman that she wouldn't say those things out loud. But if she was in a one-on-one conversation with one of the boys, she was still like a fucking truck driver. And the first thing, I just saw a piece that Kurt Angle had done an interview. I said the first thing that she told Kurt Angle when they did a thing where she was going to take the Angle Slam. Kurt, I want you to do one thing for me. Pick me up and spike me to the mat. Treat me like one of the boys. And the same thing with Bubba Ray Dudley when he was supposed to give her the power bomb. Slam me like one of the boys. Treat me like one of the boys. She was not going to goddamn have you take it easy on her because she was a woman or almost 80. So, I mean, but we've read the In the Newses on a couple of her arrests back at, that was the 40s, the one that the good newspaper clipping that we found. But she and a few friends of hers back in the 40s would buddy up to some guy at a bar and get him half drunk, and then he'd take them home where he thought all kinds of things were going to happen, and they'd beat him up and rob him, and then he'd be too embarrassed to go to the cops and say a woman beat me up and robbed me when I was trying to fuck around with her. But every once in a while one of them did. I mean, what a fucking career, what a life. So how old was she when she died? She was like 92?
I don't even remember when she died exactly.
I know it's been several years, but that was the thing. She wanted to work on her 100th birthday. And Vince had promised her, if it happens, Mae, we'll book you. And I bet you she would have wanted to take a fucking slam.
Do you think it was hard to convince her to do the thing where she gave birth to a hand, or was she, all right, let's do it?
No, at that point, not only was she so far enough out of the business, and imagine that. I mean, yes, she took up for the credibility of the business and the, kayfabe all those years, but now she's been out of the business on a regular basis for fucking 30 years, probably at that point, easily. And she had a wrestling school and done some training and who knows what else. But now she's in the NBA-sized arenas, being featured on national television, getting checks that are bigger than she'd ever seen in her life for doing promos and pre-tapes or taking a fucking bump every once in a while. She used to work half an hour a night with those stiff girls in the 40s and 50s that they didn't really teach them all the way how to work, so it would look good in some cases. So this was the easiest job she ever had. I think she'd have done anything, and she was up for anything. So that's a whole completely different kettle of fish.
Well, Jim, our next question, also on Twitter using the hashtag CornyDriveThru, is from Mark Ellis. I've always enjoyed Jim's views in regards to wrestling and the history of wrestling. I've wondered what Jim considers to be the biggest change to pro wrestling. The dawn of television or the internet?
The internet. Wrestling changed, or television changed wrestling in terms of that was a boom. It was the biggest boom since the 30s because now people that had never been able to see live wrestling, old women, kids, their parents wouldn't take them, whatever, is coming into your home. So it led to another boom. The only changes, and they were big, that television really brought into the actual product was promos and a faster pace. It was still wrestling, still promoted as wrestling. And then later on with television and making stars, then other changes were made, formation of territories with guys who were stars, etc. But the biggest thing with television was bringing on a boom with promos and faster pace matches and more people seeing it. But the internet changed everything about it because now instantly in everybody's homes, they knew everything. And so as a result, people started fucking thinking they knew everything and started getting in the business when there was no regulation, there was no control, where they could be promoters, they could be wrestlers, they could open a wrestling school. Everybody thinks they know everything, so everybody can do everything. And then think about this. 10 years after television came along, besides being, as I said, a little quicker paced, pro wrestling matches in any arena in the country looked basically the same as they had they did in 1958 as they had in 1948. Just a little faster, maybe a little flashier, right? Same basic thing.
I think so.
Show me a wrestling match find me a wrestling match today that looks anything like a goddamn wrestling match even did 25 years ago. It's a completely different thing with completely different people in it. So I think that the internet, he didn't say changed for the better. He just said changed more. So, the internet brought that along because a vast majority of people that watched wrestling were not going to get involved enough, make the move, the expense, take the time and trouble to subscribe to the Observer or mail publications or trade things in the mail or, videotapes or even DVDs or whatever. That was going to be for the hardcores of anything. But with the internet being in everybody's home, suddenly everybody could read this shit, whether they paid a cent for it or not, and the information was available to everybody. And depending on what you read, because if you're a person who knows absolutely nothing about something and you read something that looks legitimate, you go, okay, now I've got the scoop. I mean, remember last week we talked about the fucking gasoline at the bottom of the J-Town well. People believe things they read when they don't know anything about it. So now everybody that really does know about the history of this business or individuals in it, whether it's a long time ago or even just recent history, you can read the comments on any website, any video, any fucking message, whatever the fuck. And people believe the goddamn stupidest shit. Well, that so-and-so did such and such and was told that he was doing this and that. And it's some goddamn story that you go, where the fuck do people come up with this shit? Because they read it on the internet and believed it. So now, besides the fact the whole business is not just exposed. I hate when people say, well, we've known it's fake for a long time, so it's been exposed. I'm not just talking about whether you know that it's all true or not. You know how, why, when, where, the nuts, the bolts. You've got David Copperfield's fucking blueprint for his big trick. You're looking at it. You see everything. That has completely destroyed the whole goddamn concept of this, to be quite honest.
That's part of it. I mean, you talked earlier about the style of wrestling. I think the bigger issue is just the overall exposure of everything. And kayfabe was going to die one way or the other, especially with everything Vince did. And I understand the irony of us sitting here talking about the inside of the wrestling business, talking about how everyone shouldn't be aware of the inside of the wrestling business.
Well, yeah, and that's the moral conundrum I had for a while until I realized, oh my God, then everybody's going to just think that all this stupid shit was the facts. At least let's tell the fucking real story, because it's all shot anyway.
But there was a long time, especially in the 90s, even though things were starting up with the internet, but, it's kind of like a club. I mean, in the 80s too, especially in the 80s, actually. If you got the Observer, there were a few other thousand of you. If you met someone else who read the Observer, it was like, oh my God, this person also is reading about this inside stuff. But there were always people talking bullshit. Like, I remember being on the train coming back from Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan at the Garden with my dad and one of my friends. And there was this guy he was the wrestling know-it-all of his group. And he was talking some serious shit. Big Bully Busick used to be known as the missing link. No. But, he was convinced that he was trying to convince...
Brutus Beefcake and Hulk Hogan are brothers.
Brutus Beefcake, that was actually one of them. That was one of them.
Yes, because that was the big one because they were gimmick brothers in Tennessee when they started. So somebody got one of my rookie pictures of them because the first place they teamed was in Memphis. And, they were brothers.
Paul Orndorff didn't die, but the Ultimate Warrior did.
Yes.
I mean, you heard all of these things. And, it still happens. That's the thing. I mean, the audience that reads the newsletters, we could say whatever we want about Dave's thoughts on modern wrestling. But beyond that, the reporting and everything, there are the people who actually read The Observer or something like The Observer. There are the people that actually go to a PW Insider and read the articles. And then there are people who read the aggregators, who take that little bit of information and maybe misquote it or use it in the wrong fashion. And then you get a whole new round of misinformation that comes out of that. I mean, I've seen Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez and I think Mike Johnson and several others on Twitter say that's not what I said. Yeah, that's not what I wrote.
I believe I've done that a time or two also, because all the people even when the quote is there, you can't read sarcasm on a printed page. But a lot of people, even with a quote in front of them of they have the cognitive dysfunction not to get the fucking point. And then they leave reading that piece with a completely different fucking opinion of what was just said.
Well, you know, Jim, a lot of people may be upset about the current state of professional wrestling.
It would drive them to distraction is what it would do. And I think they ought to talk to somebody about it.
I think so, too.
You know, folks, the folks at BetterHelp are standing by right now ready to talk to you about rotten pro wrestling, if that's what's bothering you. Or if it's not, if there's something else bothering you, they will talk to you as well about that. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis or a self-help line. It's professional counseling done securely online with counselors with a broad range of expertise. And it's available for clients worldwide. You create an account you can log into anytime, send messages to your counselors. You get timely responses. You can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. No waiting rooms. Even if you're vaccinated, still not safe to go out in public because people are still stupid. So you can do this online if you don't have it available in your area or you don't want to leave the house. And it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling. The folks at BetterHelp want you to start living a happier life today. You can go to the website BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp.com, and read the testimonials from folks that have used their services. And if you go to BetterHelp.com/JCE to join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional, then you will get 10% off your first month's services. BetterHelp.com/JCE. We've had a lot of feedback from some of the listeners, the Cult of Cornette members. They've helped them. They can help you. And folks, this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Drive Thru listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/JCE.
Well, Jim, as you know, a recent sensation across the Cornette Nation has been cameos. People buying cameos for you.
I know, but before they were buying them from me, they were buying them for me from other people to send to me.
And now apparently they're buying them for me too. I have a
You got a cameo.
Apparently I do, because here is a cameo sent to me from Danhausen, of all people. And apparently they've also been buying you cameos from Danhausen. I've got at least 3 or 4 cameos here from Danhausen to either one of us, but let's play this one first.
Okay, and hold on, and let me just say at the top of this segment, let me just say this. I'm getting a kick out of this audio. I'm getting a kick out of the promos. People have said, oh, you ought to see some of the things that Danhausen's done in the ring. Well, I'm not going to. Because I'm never going to watch this guy wrestle, because it will destroy my fucking opinion of him. Because right now I'm liking it. So I don't want to see whatever he's done. I'm sure he's wrestled the Invisible Man, or he's done a dance routine, or he's done the Invisible Choke Slam or whatever. But I'm not going to let anybody ruin this for me. I like him, so I'm not going to watch him wrestle. I'm just going to listen to him talk.
I will bring up once again, he is the only one of these guys who has had a good defense. I talk like this, I act like this, I look like this, because I want money and power.
And a house made out of solid gold and a rocket car.
No one else has said that. Orange Cassidy doesn't say, look, I'm a normal guy. I behave like this because I like the attention, and it got me on TV. That's what Danhausen says, which I appreciate. But here, apparently, is a Danhausen cameo to me.
Oh, yes, this is from the Grump E for Great Brain. Okay. does not believe meat belongs in pizza. This is quite terrible. In fact, he thinks a real pizza should only be cheese and tomatoes. Well, please enlighten him by telling him about all the wonderful meats that belong on pizza. To top it off, pineapple belongs in pizza. Well, Danhausen does not like pineapple on pizza, but, that's your discretions of whatever may have you. That is quite evil to Danhausen. But this meat thing, who cares? Let's see, but Danhausen eats pepperonis on pizza. They're little spicy meats. It's quite wonderful. They taste so spicy. Yes, anyways. Wonderful, wonderful time. Anyways, perhaps because Danhausen did this cameo of some sort, you can mail Danhausen a pizza now. Otherwise, you'll be cursed. No big deal. Anyways, see you later. Have fun eating plain pizza.
Hey, I got news for you, Danhausen. If I can't get him to send me a cake, you ain't getting a pizza.
I don't think he wanted me to send him a pizza. The guy who purchased the cameo, by the way, for the record, it was sent in by the Grump E. Lemming. I think he wants Grump E to send in a pizza.
Well, nobody wants you to send him a pizza because there wouldn't be any fucking meat on it.
Oh, come on. That's the way it should be. Well, let's even things out. Here's a Danhausen cameo for you, Jim.
Yes, this is Danhausen again. This is from Jordan Hausen. It's Cornette. We shoot on his dog Harley Quinn. The comic book hero? Villain? Villainess? No, what? Danhausen will never do whatever that means. What the hell does that mean? No. Anyways, it's a nice dog, probably. Explain why you carry teeth with you. Yes, well. So, cannot use a chair. Cannot use a weapon of some sort. But how Danhausen sees it, teeth are gross. Human teeth especially. So, Danhausen pours them in his opponent's mouth, because you already have teeth in your mouth, so you can't really get disqualified for it. And it disorients them, they probably almost throw up, and as they're, on the verge of vomiting, Danhausen kicks them in the face. Disorients them. Gives Danhausen the advantage legally. He's bending the rules a bit, maybe, but not technically. So, also, let's see, what are your spicy water shirt? Yes, Danhausen was wrestling this wrestler, PB Smooth. 7 feet tall, you will. And we was at a bar, so we had no ring, because Danhausen was a barroom brawler that day. So Danhausen thought he cannot use the ropes to take down his foe. But he saw this on TV once. There's a man who got in the bar, and he danced. His name was Herman. And he kicked the people in the face, as Danhausen remembers it. And it gave him a bit of an advantage, but Danhausen, standing on a bar, can kick PB in the face. Could not do it. What may have you? Regular heights. Yes, that'll do. And this fellow knocked Danhausen down on the bar and poured this spicy water in Danhausen's face. And it disoriented Danhausen, and then Danhausen got punched in the face by this large fellow and lost. So Danhausen decided to capitalize on this because Danhausen's started coining, and Danhausen kept coining the phrase, but they started repeating and loving that Danhausen called this beverage a spicy water because it got in Danhausen's mouth and it burned. It was called a White Claw of some sort or something, I don't know. Anyways, cost Danhausen the match, so Danhausen turned that into profits. Yes, it's a Midnight Express. Oh, Danhausen loves midnight. It's time for evil doings. It's his favorite wrestling memory growing up. Kane ripping off the cell doors, Danhausen's first memory, and destroying that Undertaker fellow, proving he is more evil. Yes, okay, so.
Okay, look, he is a gimmick. However, he applies logic to everything he does. I didn't know that he carries teeth with him.
I didn't either, but it makes sense. It's not a disqualification. You already have teeth in your mouth. It doesn't say in the rule book you can't have someone else's teeth in your mouth. There's a loophole there.
There is a brilliance to his logic, and it works. I am a Fanhausen, officially.
A Fanhausen of Danhausen?
I am a Fanhausen of Danhausen.
Of some sort.
Once again, this one was sent in. Trying to see if there's a name here. There's an email address, Mr. Spacely 1010. but no actual name.
Wonder how the sprocket business is doing.
Thank you, Mr. Spacely, for sending this in. And, of course, thank you, Dan Hausen. What is he thinking? He keeps getting these cameos for you and for me now.
I wonder if he gives a shit enough to has anybody told him that we're talking about this is why, or he's just in a vacuum. He's just suddenly having a bunch of people say, tell Jim Cornette shit.
It's so, he has to know. He has to absolutely know. Well, thank you, Dan Hausen, and thank you to the people who have sent these in. We have more Dan Hausen cameos, but we're not going to play more than 2 per episode. Let's get another question here, Jim. This one sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from John in Springfield.
Springfield what?
It doesn't specify.
Springfield, Ohio, Springfield, Kentucky, Springfield, Massachusetts. I could go on.
The Simpsons live in Springfield, don't they?
Yes, they do, but we're not talking about them.
Do you think AEW would suck less or more if Shitstain was booking things?
Oh my God.
What would it look like? Now, this is to look at it seriously, despite your distaste for him and your distaste for AEW, when you look at the booking there, are there things that Vince Russo could contribute that would be positives if he had a filter? Or would it just completely be a negative?
Well, first of all, if just one human being was doing all the booking, even if that human being was bereft of most of his senses, sight, hearing, smell, whatever, it would be better than multiple people doing multiple pieces of this thing. Having said that, I believe Shitstain would go in there and he would earworm his way into Tony Khan's head, because obviously that's an easy thing to do. All the rest of these guys have done it. And he would do the same thing he's done with Dixie Carter and with other people in WCW. At least Vince McMahon viewed Vince Russo as a useful idiot. The phrase is popular these days because it's the Russian KGB intelligence agency term, useful idiot. Somebody that we can use if they're an idiot, we can bend them to our will and they will be useful to us. And that's what Russo has done to people that don't know very much about the wrestling business. With Tony Khan, it would be interesting because he obviously doesn't know much about the inside of the wrestling business, but he is considers himself such a mega super fan that it would be harder for Russo to insinuate his sinister presence into Tony Khan's mind, because Tony would be predisposed to know that he's full of shit, but just not understand exactly how he's full of shit. So, yeah, Shitstain could probably write a format for a television show from start to finish that made more sense than what AEW does now, specifically because it would be one person coming up with the whole thing instead of 5 people coming up with pieces of it. Whether it would be any better quality or whether it'd be just a different type of parody of wrestling may be up to debate, but at least it would probably make more sense from start to finish. He wouldn't, I don't even know if Shitstain would do 2 or 3 kidnappings per episode or backstage brawls per episode or have, multiple people put through tables in multiple segments on the same show.
But there would be a lot more of women being called sluts on the show, probably.
There would be a lot more of women being called sluts and whores and barking like dogs and having their clothes ripped off. There would be a lot more of that because, see, here's the thing. All of these monogamous people that don't get this shit out of their system because it's human nature to want to fuck everything in sight, then they have to channel their goddamn energies in other more destructive ways, where people that just like to fuck around and don't get all hung up about it, they're usually a lot more happy.
Our next question, Jim, sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Kirk in Everett, Washington. On the latest episode of The Experience, the question on why the Young Bucks seemed to lead off Dynamite or the last pay-per-view got me thinking. If these guys are as good a politicians as we've hinted at on the show with their match against Private Party, Do you think the Young Bucks are leading off these shows so that they get all their shit in? I'm trying to read this. It's really poorly written. Do you think the Young Bucks are leading off these shows?
A poor workman blames his tools there, Brian.
Do you think the Young Bucks are leading off these shows so that way all their shit they do is fresh? And later on, when everyone else is doing their dives and flips and leg slaps, it becomes redundant, and the Bucks are clear of that.
There's a point to be made there. And I think it comes down to whether or not that, not necessarily whether they're smart enough to know that, because they've probably been around long enough they can figure that out, but it's probably whether they can admit to themselves that they're not just the greatest thing in the world and they can't follow anything. If they're honest enough with themselves to know that all that shit that all of them do looks the same and their shit does not stand out as anything special, so they need to do it first. If they're that honest with themselves, that might be a reason. But I think that they probably still think, well, we're the greatest, so we can follow anything. And then that's why when they're on last, they still do the same shit that everybody else has done throughout the rest of the program.
There have been wrestlers, obviously, in the past, I'm sure this was a problem in Jim Crockett Promotions, where the Young Bucks may want to go on first saying, follow that.
No, actually, there was not, every once in a while, the last two matches, if there was in someone's mind that they were next to last and they should have been last, they might go out there with that mindset just to push the guy on top a little bit. Like, let's see you follow this motherfucker. And of course, every once in a while, somebody like Shawn Michaels will actually come out and say it. But that was only when they really were having these fucking blowaway matches and they really were tearing the house down. And it really was a task to follow it. I mean, you can follow most of the shit they do on these programs easily by just having a wrestling match instead of doing the same shit everybody else does.
What are your thoughts in general about starting off hot and heavy? Like WrestleMania 10, Brett and Owen starts the show. Excellent match. It's hard to follow that match.
The reason they did that is because Brett was working twice.
I understand the reason, but still you're starting the show with as action-packed a match as you're going to get on most shows.
But here was the thing. At that time period, it was not a normal thing to do to start out a show with one of the main events and possibly the best match on the show. The reason why that happened, because he was working twice, they went all the way with it instead of putting him on, because I've seen in some instances, especially on house shows back in the territory days or whatever, when a guy was working twice because of a lights out match or some special deal, they'd put his first match on in the middle instead of having him go back to back. But even if the guy was in the two matches that you would think were the two main events, but with WrestleMania that year, they said, well, instead of putting him on in the middle, the reason being to give him time to rest before he has to go work again, let's just give him the most amount of time and start it off with a bang. And I think that was the first major example of doing something like that, wasn't it? On any major promotion's big show, and it worked, and they didn't just hop on doing it, but they started doing it after that with more and more frequency until now it's an accepted thing. But I don't mind a pay-per-view being structured like that, especially if you've got 2 or 3 really, blow away great matches and you can afford to put one on at the start. It does invariably lead to a crater in the middle, a death slot, the popcorn match where everybody gets up and gets popcorn, which is at one point was the Divas in the WWF, and sometimes it's just an actual single match between 2 guys with no stipulations. Imagine that. There's only one of those on any show. But I don't mind it so much on a pay-per-view. The live audience, when there is one, is going to see a great show. The pay-per-view audience has already bought the thing. If you go from a really good opening match to just a real stinker, then you shouldn't have booked that stinker on your fucking pay-per-view. But in a house show, it's completely counterproductive to me to start with a main event match or a match with a lot of interest or a big match with a lot of excitement, and then put the poor guys on that aren't in an angle or that don't get a lot of TV time or don't have a hot finish or is a drop from a tag or a 6-man down to 2 people for a house show? What the fuck? You know, basically when you put the main event on early at a house show, it's just because you either want to avoid a riot, which doesn't exist anymore, or you want to get the fucking star out early and beat the traffic. And that still exists.
Our next question, Jim, sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Mark Humphreys in Loughton, England. Hi, Jim. Big fan of you over the years and the show. I wanted to know your opinion of the Mr. Perfect gimmick, and why do you think Curt Hennig was never given a continued WWF main event run or even a world title win around 1990? Also, was Hennig training for a return to the ring in the WWF before he jumped to WCW in 1997?
Second question first. No, I don't think so, because he had the goddamn Lloyd's of London policy. But
now, wait,
gosh,
did he have it then? Or because remember, he wrestled Bret Hart. His last match was SummerSlam 91, and he had a really bad back, legit.
And that match with Bret Hart, Bobby Eaton, I came over to his house one day in Charlotte. They had it on the VCR because he got it for his kids. And that he said, you got to watch this. Bobby was blown away by how good both guys were. It was a great match, but especially we liked Hennig's work. Go ahead.
At that point, Mr. Perfect is out of the ring. He manages Ric Flair because Bobby doesn't manage at ringside anymore. So Bobby's associated, but Mr. Perfect's with him all the time. Somewhat of a Bobby Davis kind of role.
Right.
And then he comes out of retirement on Primetime Wrestling because the main event at Survivor Series in 92 was going to be Randy Savage and the Ultimate Warrior versus Razor Ramon, who had just gotten there, was getting a big push, and Ric Flair. And that's when the Warrior and Davey Boy got in trouble for the growth hormone shipment. And they were both gone. And they replaced the Warrior. They did a whole angle on Primetime where Savage announces he wants Mr. Perfect to be his partner, and Perfect and Heenan laugh about it. And then eventually Savage kind of talks him into it, and Flair kind of talks him into it by being a heel. And then he returns to the ring. So was his Lloyd's of London policy for that year? Or was it after that?
No, because he had a bad back. But the Lloyd's of London policy only paid him off if he retired. So he had not said, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but he had not claimed on his policy yet because he didn't consider that he was retired at that point. He wasn't working because he really had a bad back. But I seem to remember that later on, because all the Minnesota guys, Animal had a Lloyd's of London policy on his bad back, but there was a clause in it that when he came back, he could wrestle tag matches, but not single matches. I'm not shitting you. This was a thing. We couldn't book in like 97, I think it was. We couldn't book Animal in a single match or it would violate his Lloyd's policy. But when he came back after cashing in on it, when he came back to wrestling, if he was in a tag match, it was okay because of the wording. I think Ric Flair's the only guy that didn't cash in on a policy that he had at some point out of like a dozen guys that were paying those high premiums. But the point is, Curt, when he jumped, was he the guy that there was an issue with something that the office had done or said that screwed up his collecting on his Lloyd's of London policy? Or am I thinking about somebody else?
I'm not sure. Like you said, all those Minnesota guys did it.
But the point is, I believe that there was heat, and I know somebody's going to send more in on this, so tune in the show next week. But there was heat, I believe, if he's the right one I'm thinking of, where somewhere or another, because he was working, the office said or did something that kind of stooged him or made his policy go sideways, and that's where he said, fuck it, and he left and went south and went back to wrestling. More on that next week.
That's right. What are your thoughts overall about Curt Hennig?
Oh, I mean, that's why I get such a kick out of watching Dolph Ziggler work, because he has channeled that. But Kurt the gimmick was perfect for him because he was such a great athlete and it was so effortless and he could do so many things and he was a natural in the ring and a second generation guy, grown up around the business. All the boys loved him. What a fucking merry prankster he was. He was always ribbing people. He was one of the boys. He grew up around the business and he got it. Of the Minnesota crew, guys like Animal and Hawk and Darso and those guys, they didn't grow up around the business. So they were one of the boys, but Curt Hennig was he and Heenan were fucking perfect together. He and Flair were perfect together because he was one of the boys. He got the whole wrestling business mentally and physically. He's the one when they were in the AWA, that Stan and Steve, Lane and Kern, the fabulous ones, when they'd gone up there to work for Vern and they're all on a fucking plane going somewhere. And Stan of course, they carried on their bags because they couldn't lose their shit. Stan Lane, and this was the Zubaz era, has both of his hands on his carry-on trying to stuff it into a fucking overhead compartment. And he's standing right in front of this guy on the aisle seat that's a businessman with his suit and tie and jacket on and a tie buttoned up. And Stan's got both hands shoving his fucking bag in, and Hennig gets up from behind him and jerked Stan's Zubaz down. Of course, he was wearing no underwear. And Stan's dick is just flapping in this guy's face. And the guy was like, no. Like he wasn't seeing a dick. He was seeing like a goddamn fucking AIDS-infected hypodermic needle or the leprosy. Or said, no. And he was always doing shit like that. Your shoes would be glued to the floor or the ceiling, or, whatever the case. But he was a great talent. He was one of the best in-ring workers. He got to be a tremendous promo. And he didn't need a lot of takes on all that shit. He could fucking bat the gum first try or catch the fucking towel or whatever it may be. So I always got along with Kurt. I thought he was great as a talent.
You think he could have been a world champion outside of the AWA?
Yes. A guy like Kurt, who understood the business and who also had a background as being a really good babyface that could sell his ass off, but also being a really good heel that could cheat his ass off. In the days of the territories, a guy like that would have been considered for the NWA title. I don't know. At some point, Curt Hennig could have definitely been the WWE champion. I'm not sure. When he was Mr. Perfect, that brief few years, there's Hogan and Savage and whatever. And when he's in basically all of the 90s, there was some heavy hitters. I would have never put Kurt at the top of a company to be the face of a company with that kind of field. He'd be a high up main event talent, but not the guy. But look at everybody that's held the WWE championship over the last 15 years and find the very few that were better at it than Curt Hennig. So if you had Kurt from 1990 in the business over the last 15 years, he would have been a blowaway world champion.
All right, Jim, our next question sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Scott Williams in, okay, he spells this phonetically, Natchitoches, Louisiana.
Natchitoches.
Okay, it's spelled Natchitoches.
That's what we used to call it when we drive through it, Natchitoches, but it's Natchitoches.
I've heard you mention your time in Louisiana.
Wait a minute, hold on. Natchitoches.
Toches.
Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
I've heard you mention your time in Louisiana, including Shreveport and Alexandria. I was wondering if you had any recollection of my hometown of Natchitoches, which you would have passed by on your way from one to the other.
Uh-huh.
I have a childhood memory of an early 80s show in Natchitoches that featured the Midnight Express and Hercules versus the Rock and Roll Express and Jim Duggan. I was just a young lad then, so my memory could be faulty, and I welcome being corrected if I have this wrong.
No, that's probably what it was. I remember they ran the town one time, I think, the year we were there. It was a spot show town. And there were, at one point or another, they'd run almost any town of any size in the state of Louisiana. That's where a lot of the spot shows happen. But no, and we did drive through there quite a bit because, especially as I've mentioned in those days, there were no north and south interstates. So and now the people who live there now, imagine if you live in Baton Rouge or you live in Shreveport and there's no 4-lane highway to get from one to the other. Imagine how that would be working out. We would do, a lot of times they would book 6-man tags on those spot shows just to give the guys a little bit of a break, because a 6-man was easier than a single match or a tag team match. There's more guys to do the work, and it's a spot show, so you just want to make sure the people are happy. But those little towns used to do great. At one point, probably about the same time of year, because it was when I was managing Hercules, and I think it was when Ernie Ladd came in that summer to do a couple of shots in Houston. But we had a 6-man tag with the Rock and Roll and Hacksaw Duggan against the Midnight Express and Ernie Ladd in Bogalusa, Louisiana. And the house was $35,000, and the tickets were, I think, 6, 8, and 10. So there were like 4,500, 5,000 people or whatever outside at the football field at the high school in Bogalusa. That was how hot those towns were. That wasn't that far from Baton Rouge, where they ran every 2 weeks, and New Orleans, where they ran weekly. But we didn't run Bogalusa often, so they came out to see it. So yeah, Natchitoches, Bogalusa. I've been in almost every pissant Louisiana town at one time or another back then.
Our next question, sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Charlie in Starkville, Mississippi.
I didn't think it would take even this long.
It's been a few weeks since he's had a question here on the show.
Somebody has a Twitter now that's named Starkey from Charlieville.
I did not know that. There are still people who think Charlie from Starkville is an alias for me for questions that I want you to answer.
Is when you say,
no, it's not. No.
I thought you were reading the start of Charlie's question, and he threw me off. Because you were reading it like you were reading it off a piece of paper. I've thought the same thing myself many times.
Oh, come on. You know Charlie's a real person. You've heard from him as well.
I know, and Charlie and his brother.
His brother?
His brother Daryl. And his other brother Daryl.
I don't know about that, but here's Charlie's question. Hi, Jim. I came across an article that ranked every version of you in wrestling from worst to best. I'd like to get your thoughts on the list.
Okay, every version of me.
That's right. This list is apparently from the website Sportskeeda. So I have the articles, but I have the list here. I'll read down the list.
Okay.
From 8 to 1. Or do you want from 1 to 8? It's up to you.
8 to 1.
The worst version of you in wrestling, NWA Power color commentator.
Okay.
Number 7, this is kind of vague, WWE Legend work.
Okay.
I don't even know what that means. Number 6, inept youngster.
Well, I spent quite a bit of that. Quite a bit of time doing that. I should have been good at it.
Yeah, see, that's bullshit. Anyone who knows about the early days of Jim Cornette, he was making more money than the boys as a kid selling those photos. Number 5, TNA and ROH authority figure. Number 4, Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Number 3, Camp Cornette. Number 2, Shoot Critic. And number 1, Managing the Midnight Express.
Well, that had to be.
No OVW. No OVW mentioned here.
I think I would have put OVW in over the top of inept youngster, possibly. Just because there was probably more impact on the business with, guys like Cena and Orton and Lesnar and Batista and all that than, when I was managing Jesse Barr and he was mad at Steve Olsonowski or whatever.
Oh, and actually, this website, it's the Sportster. They have another article here from last year. 5 AEW stars Jim Cornette hates, and 5 he actually likes.
Well, let's see if anything's changed if that was from last year.
Number 10, Jim Cornette likes MJF. Number 9, Jim Cornette hates Kenny Omega.
That hadn't changed.
Number 8, Jim Cornette likes Jungle Boy.
Well, yeah, I hate that he hangs out with such a bad crowd.
Number 7, Jim Cornette hates Marco Stunt.
I believe it. I articulated that here recently very well.
Number 6, Jim Cornette likes Cody. Oh, wow. That's an interesting reaction.
It just that what I've seen over this was a year ago, right? What I've seen over the last year, I'm wondering whether he's lost the plot too. You're starting to move me into your camp, Brian.
Number 5, Jim Cornette hates Matt Jackson.
Woo! Is water wet this time of year, and does the Pope cover up for pedophiles? Of course.
Number 4, Jim Cornette likes Britt Baker.
Well, boy, talk about, she may have plummeted the most in the horse race that has been this, although the horse keeps running backwards because we see its ass first, but that has been this journey through hysteria of AEW. I started out saying, why are they not making this girl the champion? She's a baby face. She's attractive. She's a professional. She's a dentist. She can do media. She can have all the little girls out there, the little bakerettes, looking up to her. Why not make her a babyface and put her over when they were beating her constantly? She was a babyface, but they were beating her constantly, blah, blah, blah. Then they switch her heel and she's rotten for a couple of weeks, but she gets that. And she's doing, and I like that. And I'm like, well, she's got this promo, and I like the Reba thing and the whole, and then they go to her office for the tooth and nail fight. And then Britt Baker ceased to exist because I have instituted since then the tooth and nail rule. So she went from the penthouse to the outhouse in the course of a year.
Number 3, Jim Cornette hates Riho.
Actually, no. That's the thing. Have I ever even said, even in a hyperbolic fashion or a hyperbaric fashion, that Riho should be boiled in oil and have her fat sold for soap?
Well, she doesn't have much fat, to be fair.
She don't have much. Then have I said that somebody should boil the skin off her bones and use them to pick their teeth?
I mean, you've been very critical of Riho. I don't remember anything to that degree, but...
Because I don't hate her. I just think that it's another example of Kenny Twinkletoes' bizarre Japanese anime fetishes polluting what could be a proper wrestling women's division without all of the Joshi Princess cosplay champions being involved.
Although, as I've said recently, the more of the Joshi Princess Pro personnel that we have seen, the more I appreciate Riho.
I can't get into a pro wrestler that throws punches while doilies are wrapped around her wrists.
That was one of the songs on the Drive Thru. I think last week the guy said, she has doilies on her wrist. She wears a diaper. He said the song.
Fuck.
All right, well, number 2 on the list, Jim Cornette likes Dax Harwood.
I still got to say I like him. I just feel sorry for him, and I hate that they got into that situation, I guess. But they brought a lot of it on themselves. Not having the power to say no early on led to never being able to say no later.
And number 1, Jim Cornette hates Jelly Nutella.
Well, there you go. But that's the first time he's ever been number 1.
Well, it's funny too reading this. Nutella seems like someone who does not belong on national television, but strictly on the independent scene. It has been months, but he has never managed to quite shake off that stigma from him. On the bright side, his presence did give Jim Cornette the opportunity to come up with the incredible Jelly Nutella nickname. So, that's on the bright side.
They don't even like him. That's why I agree with everything except how did he get to be number one at anything? I don't even hate him worse than anyone else. It's just it's a repugnance, sort of like a really nasty smell that you walk by on the sidewalk. You're like, oh, jeez.
Who do you hate the most? I mean, he's number one on this list. Who do you actually hate the most in AEW? Is it Omega?
I think it has to be. Yeah, it has to be Harpo Fingerfuck. Just for the doll wrestling and the child wrestling and the breathy phone sex promos and the awkward my butt plug just fell out facials and the gesticulating and the finger pointing and the making a mockery of everything related to professional wrestling while at the same time claiming to be its world's greatest living practitioner and an artiste. This guy's so full of shit, as Mama Cornette would say, his eyes are brown. He's full of shit as a Christmas turkey. A pompous ass fucking... I can't imagine a world in which he and I, even if we weren't involved in the wrestling business, would be able to pass a fucking friendly word between each other, because we are almost as far apart as disparate individuals as myself and Russo. Except Russo's voice still is more annoying, but there could be no two people different. And I mean that in every conceivable insulting way toward Twinkle Toes McFingerbang.
And who do you like the most in AEW?
Is none of the above a category?
Oh, come on. You do like some of the people there.
Well, like and disappointed in I guess is better than hate and can't stand.
What about Darby Allin?
Well, I don't mind watching him wrestle, but I thought you were talking about like personally. The people there that I used to like personally, I'm disappointed in. But yeah, yes, they have talent. I like Darby Allin as a wrestler, and then we find out that he does shit like he does on these stunts on purpose and for free just because he thinks it's fun. So he's a fucking mental case. I mean, it's hard to give a full-throated endorsement to any of these people, because if you enjoy watching them on television, it's probably because they're really a fucking goof in person. I don't know what to think. And I hesitate, Brian, as you know, to give out the compliments, the accolades, and even the allocades, because every time I say something good about somebody, they pop up wrestling the Invisible Man. Remember, I was a fan of Mance Warner for about a month and a half in MLW. And then he wrestles the Invisible Man after I'd said all those good things about him. So I hesitate to go on record.
Well, Jim, some of these wrestlers may feel peer pressure to do some of these stupid things on video, disseminated to the world. Perhaps after the fact, they think about it and they go, what the hell was I thinking? And they say, I need to sue everybody.
And they sometimes say that. Or if, for example, you are a person out there who has a national television personality threatening to ejaculate all over you in your basement, or wishing and hoping and praying and wishing and hoping and praying and wanting that you die a horrible death, you need to call somebody, and I'll tell you exactly who you should fucking call.
Call Stephen P. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Still to the rest.
Folks, I'll tell you this, and I'll be quite honest with you. I know you wouldn't take it seriously if your life was threatened by a Bulgarian Popeye villain, a British gruel slobberer, or a woman who's been on more street corners than the New York Times. But if you have real problems that need real solutions in court, if you've been harmed or damaged, or your rights infringed on in any way, and you need to seek legal recourse, I suggest, indeed I urge you, to call the law offices of Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084. The plethora of causes that Stephen has been involved in the last year, whether it be nursing home abuse of the elderly, whether it be chemicals causing cancer in Minden, West Virginia, whether it be the sexual assault of athletes there in West Virginia at the highest levels at the not only the athletes but the veterans, what I should say at the Veterans Administration Hospital up there. Stephen's all over everything. And he can do the same thing for you. If he can't do it, he might can tell you where to go to have it done. So, folks, whether you want to retain Stephen P. New or just have him tell you where to go, 888-692-8084, newlawoffice.com. Get even with Stephen. New is for you, the consigliere of the cult of Cornette, the man who's kept me out of prison successfully so far. He can do the same thing for you.
That's right. Well, let's get.
I didn't say it to be wrong.
Let's get a few more questions before we wrap things
up. If hiring Stephen is wrong, I don't want to be right.
This next question is one that we've actually received from several people, or versions of it from several people. I'll read this one. Sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Neil. Greetings from India. I've been a long-time listener, and I am writing to your show for the first time. I know you have spoken about Dave Meltzer's 5, 6, and 7-star ratings in the past, but today on Twitter, he countered some criticisms of his rating system by claiming that he uses an infinite scale. By that logic, every match that he has ever rated is crap because, well, mathematics and common sense. What do you think of this latest claim by Dave? And one of the other people here has sent me some tweets. I could try to figure this out, but what are your thoughts on the idea that it's not a 5-star scale or a 7-star scale, an infinite scale?
Oh, God damn it. So, a match that got 4 stars like Flair and Steamboat. Now, suddenly, he gives a match 7 stars because it was almost twice as good as Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat.
They got 5 stars for the record.
Okay, well, they got 5. So, well, there you go. Well, some of them got 4. Not every single match they had got 5. But the point is, we've said this. It's fucking bogus anyway. It's an opinion. It's based on the movie critic system. There shouldn't even be 5 stars. Me and Weasel Dooley were fucking around with it to begin with. It said 5 stars because it was a fucking rib to begin with. And if you can't just make up new numbers. Even if you're going to do something that is meaningless to begin with, Gone with the Wind is a 4-star movie. Citizen Kane's a 4-star movie. And any movie there's never been a movie that got more than 4 stars because that's the scale they agreed on using at the start of this whole thing in the movie business. We're going to rate these movies and we're going to give them stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, or dud. In the case of Plan 9 from Outer Space or whatever the fuck.
Well, actually, in Dave's defense, or at least explaining his logic, I see it here. Someone tweeted at him, it's a 5-star scale, so it should be 0, but it has quite a few over 5 for some reason. It's dumb. And Dave replied, the scale goes to infinity. It's like the Richter scale. Explain to seismologist that no earthquake can be above 5.0 because you think it's dumb.
What? That's no.
And then someone replied, but
no, because earthquakes aren't a thing that human beings made up to quantify something. The human beings made up a scale to quantify the earthquakes, and if the earthquake gets stronger naturally, it would go up.
So then someone here replied, but the Richter scale wasn't set to a maximum of 5 to begin with. A star system generally is. Using half stars, you can get many ratings. Why would you need more? And Dave replied, in theory, it was set to a maximum of 4 until matches got better, then 5, then 6, then 7, but it was all theoretical. There was never an actual maximum. Before I ever did it, there had been a 6.5-star rating for a match. That was in 1981 or 1982. I believe it's 1981 for the record.
It was 81. Because we gave it that too, me and Weasel. Because we were doing it to amuse ourselves. and his 25 pen pals. You blithering simpletons. Here's the point. Matches didn't get better. A match was suddenly better than anything that we had seen. So since it didn't mean anything and we hadn't signed any contracts, we said, well, that's 5 stars because that's better than 4. But for the most part, even, we didn't just go around saying, okay, the matches in 1983 are so much better than they were in 1981. We're going to give this match 4 stars, even though 2 years ago we would have only given it fucking 2.5. What the fuck? And as far as matches getting better, no, actually, the matches have got worse, more redundant, less believable. Pretty much wrung the passion and emotion wrung out of them in every way. But no, matches didn't get better. Even in the 80s, matches overall didn't get better. Every once in a while, somebody just tore the fucking house down. And that still doesn't change. Every once in a while, you see Walter and Elia Dragon Master, whatever his name is, and you go, holy fuck. That's the best thing I've seen in a long time, and that stands out. And otherwise, it's all the same shit that it was, only worse. So, just this ridiculous thing. Somebody told me that, and I know Dave's lost his mind, and we're not even going to fucking go into it. But they told me he gave one of these girls' matches in AEW the same rating that he gave a Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat house show match. And that's, I'm sorry, but everything now gets, he gives 4 stars to the opening match with fucking, maybe Jelly. If Jelly's in it, it gets 3.5. How the fuck are these matches so much better than the matches that we were seeing every night in major arenas from guys that had been in the business for years and years, knew what the fuck was going on? They're not. Dave's just lost his fucking mind, and it doesn't mean anything anyway. Regardless of who is rating it, how many stars, it doesn't mean anything. But for those who have not heard, I will give you the original meaning of the 4-star system. 1, well, that sucked. We couldn't wait for it to be over. 2, that's about what we expected. 3, that was really fucking good. And 4, holy shit, they tore the house down. Otherwise than that, what the fuck?
And again, it's obviously a different world now. When Flair and Steamboat were wrestling, there were action-packed matches with genuine emotion from the fans, typically. Now, there's a lot of moves, a lot of kickouts, a lot of near falls. It's a different pace of a match, typically, but it's also the coin of the realm. It doesn't stand out as much as Flair Steamboat did in 1989, because everyone's kicking out of everything and doing all the same flips and big spots in every match.
And the same thing is that while they're doing so much more, the matches are worse. The matches are not better. The matches are faster. The matches have more bumps. They're doing all this shit, but the matches are not better. So it's just more. So to continually rate them based on the amount of moves that are done rather than whether this fucking thing is any good or not, whether it had got the finish over, accomplished the purpose, led to a rematch, some fucking positive outcome for business, tore the house down amongst the people that were there, work looked good, nobody fucking scoffed, whatever. They're not even looking for that. So it's just a bunch of fucking highlight videos.
So someone tweeted at Dave, wasn't Dooley the first one who gave a match 6 stars? Why are people complaining to you about that now? And he said, yes, people who are unaware a world existed before 2017 were misled by people who don't know what they're talking about. And then another person said, if it goes to infinity, then a 5-star match would mean it kind of sucked, right? And Dave said, yes, and a 9, I think he's joking here. Yes, and a 9.0 earthquake actually does no damage at all.
What?
So then someone said, so the star system is basically a joke? I'd agree.
Yes!
I think the way they do it now with the movies, however, is great. 5 being the limit, 5 being the best.
Do movies get 5 stars now?
I don't know. Dave said, if you think about it, what if somebody put together a movie so far above the previous best movie? If that's the case, the system becomes flawed. And then someone said the whole point of the rating system was to categorize. Adding more stars diminishes the whole point. Dave says, years ago when my daughter was 8, I explained this to her and she totally understood. Richter scale. Just think about it.
Oh, for God's sake.
And he goes on and on and on. It's weird. You invented it. He popularized it. And
I was ribbing. And a lot of people now are going, because they, sorry, longtime listeners. My friend Weasel Dooley is on the phone with me while I'm looking through the TV guide in 1980 for something to watch. And I'm reading his newsletter that he had just sent out to me. And he's going into such detail on what he liked and didn't like about the matches. I said, Weasel, you ought to fucking rate these things like they do the movies in TV Guide. And from that offhand comment, 41 years later, people are losing their minds over this shit. Just because Dave Meltzer was one of Weasel's pen pals when he liked the idea. But it was bullshit, as evidenced by 6.5 stars. Funk and Lawler was 5 stars because it blew us away. And then they did the fucking Louisville Gardens fucking arena brawl and holy shit. And after the cops finished carting all the fans out and everything's settled down, we said, well, that's 6 stars. And then they did the fucking 8-man tag the next week off the angle that they'd shot with that. And we said, well, that's 6.5 because this was 30 minutes of fucking chaos and everybody went crazy. And then it settled back down, and except if Terry Funk would wander around again, everything was back to 4 stars or under, because even we weren't going to be ridiculous.
But ever since you had Dave on the show and you explained to him after the Omega Okada match, no, there actually was a previous 6-star match. That's now his
Then he's
defense.
used that to say, okay, now I'm going to give fucking Twinkle Toes 14 stars because you can do whatever because it doesn't mean anything. Once you have established this thing as something that people are arguing about, you should feel bad enough that they argue about this fucking stupid thing but then try to change the goddamn parameters and just start handing out 7 stars because you goddamn like the scent of this fucking guy's athletic supporter. I don't fucking.
Do you think too many wrestlers wrestle for what they anticipate the star rating from Dave would be?
Apparently they do now. Do you know what would have happened if I had in a WCW locker room in 1989 or a WWF locker room in 1996, if I'd have yelled out, hey, who thinks they're going to get the best star rating from Meltzer for the match tonight? Everybody would have looked up at me and go, what? What? Now it's everybody would shoot their hand up in the fucking sky. Me.
Hence, the Young Bucks go on first.
Well, then, see, that's the thing. The reason why, if any, that guys used to like going on first was because at least they get the fucking virgin crowd. And they haven't seen anything, and they've been sitting there eating their popcorn, drinking their Cokes, reading the program, waiting for this shit to get started. They're going to be ready for it. First match, virgin fucking crowd. Boom, you do your thing, and then now everybody's got to follow you, and they've seen shit already. So that's the only thing that made going on first somewhat palatable.
Well, with that, the drive-thru closes on a rare high note. Here on the show.
We're always high on this show.
I wish. But maybe we'll be high on the experience when it debuts this Saturday, wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Don't forget, we'll be back next Tuesday with another new drive-thru. Of course, you can access the archive of the drive-thru and the experience every episode from the beginning in 2013. Right now, we are uploading shows from 2016, patreon.com/Cornette. For only $5 a month, only $5 a month, you get access to this.
Just that much?
This incredibly rich
not
archive.
Any more than $5 a month?
all the people that Jim hates, find out when it started. Patreon.com/Cornette. Of course, if you enjoyed this show and you want to share any clips from this show, and there may be a few that you want to share this week, go to the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Jim Cornette. It'll be the very first thing that pops up. Clips of episodes, full episodes, and of course the Omnibus collections, all with the very popular and amazing Travis Heckel artwork, the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel.
And we need about another 5,000 subscribers so I can get some cake.
You can follow Jim on Twitter at @TheJimCornette for cake updates. You can follow me on Twitter at GreatBrianLast. You can hear me on the 605 Superpodcast.
They don't even have to follow me. I trend.
At 605pod.com, available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Don't forget about Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com. The Miro sale isn't happening right now. Just go to JimCornette.com for future updates about the boat and the figures and everything else.
Yes, the boat is in the Bermuda Triangle. Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale. But I want to encourage Tony. Please have some more of your wrestlers threaten me with death, physical violence, and being cummed on like the wrath of God, because I got to pay for some more French drains. The Monroe brothers are very expensive.
I was going to his basement. I fell in the ditch. Of course, if you need to sue...
I bet he can't swim.
If you need to sue, call Stephen P. New. The Drive-Thru is brought to you by the law office of our pal, the great Stephen P. New, 888-692-8084. Get even with Stephen at newlawoffice.com. He helps the little guy. He's also trying to help people in wrestling who could use his assistance. newlawoffice.com. But until Saturday on The Experience and Tuesday right back here on the Drive-Thru, for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!